Hello there, welcome to Sword Fight Garage Band. Thank you for joining us as we continue our exploration of the 17 core skills of the German Longsword Tradition. Today we'll be discussing Durchlaufen, or running through. Running through is a whole grouping of techniques that can be summarized as wrestling with the blade. This is an entire art in and of itself, and you'll see within longsword competitions different individuals engaging in wrestling in a variety of different ways. Today, I'll just give you a couple different techniques to get you started down this path. However, the best way to get good at wrestling is to make sure you join a club where they teach different wrestling skills alongside their swordplay. Most of the times when we engage in Durchlaufen, it's when each of us are entering measure with one of the master cuts and wind up coming close or core to core with our bodies. This can happen deliberately or just as a means as we're trying to keep each other safe or keep ourselves safe, but one of us utilizes a manner of footwork where we end up drawing too close to one another. If we begin out of measure and cut into measure using master cuts where we draw into the bind but wind up within a step from each other, pushing our strongs against one another puts us in a position called Kron. This is essentially a guard where our sword is held up and we push against our opponent's blade and hands, trying to gain an advantage in leverage. From this position, we can execute one of the different maneuvers within the body of ringen or wrestling or Durchlaufen within the longsword tradition. One technique from here is a simple pushing of the hands. It means I'm going to take my left hand off of the handle and use it to gain control of my opponent's body in some way. The easiest way to do this within a fencing match is often just suppressing my opponent's arm or hands, pushing their sword to the side or down so that I can now deliver a one-handed attack with my longsword, whether that be a pommel to the face or a one-handed cut. I can also, as I engage in this position, utilize my sword itself to wrench or pull their blade down so that at that point I can continue to engage with a cut into my opponent, or once I've gained that position by wrenching, transfer control to my offhand and continue with a one-handed striker action. Finally, from that position in Kron, I can go into an attempt to control my opponent's entire body by utilizing one of the different takedowns. One of the easiest to make is where you step past your opponent's lead leg with yours, let go of your lead hand, and use it to pull them across your outstretched leg. Now, this is one of those techniques that you'll want to practice carefully and slowly with your fencing partners on a surface that's forgiving once you draw them down to the ground with it. You also want to make sure as you're dropping them across the plane of your leg that you apply pressure so that you can feel them pull down your leg onto the ground so that you slow their descent to the ground and allow them to drop safely. When practicing this in tournaments, you want to make sure that the rule set of that tournament allows that type of takedown. Most of the time, tournaments will allow some grappling at the sword, the hand pushing, or the control with one hand, but some of them, depending on the floor that's utilized, won't allow a full takedown. But to make sure that you're ready for any scenario, you'll want to practice all of these maneuvers with your fencing club. Another thing that's good to practice is resisting someone's attempt to grapple you. Typically, this can be done in a couple different ways. If you find yourself in Kron and someone is reaching for your sword or attempting to grab you by taking their hand off of your blade, you can instead maintain control of your sword and attack into their body or arms with a Zwerchhau or cut that's coming in close to the body. Typically, you're going to want to make an offline step, pushing back with your lead foot to open up some of that space, allowing you to tack into your fencing partner. The other thing you can do is if someone is attempting to grab or move your body, for example, if they try and execute that takedown by putting their leg behind yours and then pulling you across their body, one of the best defenses against this is simply to lower your center of balance. If you can bend your knees and put your rear leg out and lower your center of gravity below theirs, they won't be able to pull you across the plane of their leg. From that position, If you maintain control of your sword, you can continue your attacks or transition to execute your own takedown. Thank you for joining us today on Sword Fight GarageBand. Happy fencing.